一次临时救场，让他与指挥大师扬松斯结下师徒情缘。
Please, I don't need any money, but is there any chance that I could come to you and I could show my videos and we could to study?
作为指挥，他不仅收获了事业的成功，更邂逅了甜蜜的爱情。
Through music, that was how we met, and through Puccini's music, and it's so beautiful, the music, that was in the Riga Opera, so it's very romantic.
年轻的大师将如何评价历史悠久的维也纳之声？
I would characterize it as a golden sound. It's like the string sound is like honey, and it's so beautiful and sweet.
本期可凡倾听为您带来指挥家安德里斯·尼尔森斯专访。尼尔森斯的指挥生涯起步于圣彼得堡音乐学院，师从俄罗斯指挥学派名师伊利亚·木辛的高祖亚历山大·蒂托夫。此外，尼尔森斯还参加过涅姆雅尔维和约马·帕努拉的大师班，在诸位大师的指导下，潜心钻研指挥技巧。
Who was your first mentor when you first began conducting?
Well, I think. I mean, I had wonderful, great teachers. I was studying in Riga at first, and then St. Petersburg with Mr. Titov, and almost 40. Okay, now I think it's development, constant enjoyment, and trying to find new colors all your life, and it's never ending process. And of course, therefore, I love listening to different recordings, analyzing my colleagues, wonderful conductors of the past, of the today, of different generations, and I think it's all important to listen and to analyze and to think how you can improve as well. Because if you come in front of the orchestra, 100 people or sometimes more, and if you suggest some idea of music, it's a great responsibility of creating the musical character, atmosphere. I think, and you have to be always recharged with the batteries of energy and also of knowledge. And if you only reproduce yourself and do exactly the same, and I think that's the end of the excitement and the end of these fluids which are so important, almost like a child curiosity, what you need, I think, to sustain during all your life.
You have participated in conducting masterclass with Yarvi and Panula.
Yeah.
So what did you learn from these two masters?
I think actually from both, I learned and confirmed the fact that our hands, the conductor hand, this is it's not our instrument, but this is how we should use our hands to express the beat and the tempo. You can express the essence, the character, and this is your instrument, and you should be able to show with your hands everything you want to hear from the music. They both actually are great conductors and masters who don't talk much in rehearsals. Maestro Panol, he told, don't talk to orchestra. There was, a student orchestra we were rehearsing, and he told, don't talk, just show. If you want something different, if you want something softer, don't conduct like this, because if you conduct like this and say, why are you playing so loud? Because obviously you should conduct less and show. So that was very, very, from one side, a very obvious fact, but it's very important, which I learned particularly from Jorma Panul and also Neme Yarvi, that the way that how they show what they want to hear, they don't talk. And then came, great videos of Carlos Kleiber, or who was talking, but was talking so interesting that you want to hear, because, was a genius, And so at the end, I think I understood that every person has its own way to express yourself, but it's a quite mystical profession. It is difficult sometimes to explain what happens, because you can have two exactly the same people, let's say, doing exactly the same movements, but if you put in front of the orchestra, the result would be very different. And some music, I don't know why. Why with one conductor, orchestra is giving their best, and with the other conducting, they give good, but they don't play as good as. So I think it is this mystical. This is charisma, but more important is what does it mean? What you want to express? That's of course very subjective, because there is no, I think, a right or wrong way. I think after 10 years, I would say that I don't know anything, and after 10 years again, I will say I don't know anything. So it's the development of whole life.
波罗的海小国拉脱维亚孕育了不少世界级的音乐大师，仅在指挥领域就有马里斯·扬松斯和安德里斯·尼尔森斯这2位世界级名家先后涌现。扬松斯年长尼尔森斯35岁，这位同样出生于李家，在圣彼得堡音乐学院求学的同胞前辈，堪称是尼尔森斯指挥事业上一位重要的伯乐。
You had a lucky encounter with Masters Jansons. How did it happen? Could you please share some details with
that's
us?
Interesting. You know, at that point, I was of course, as a trumpet player. I was also studying conducting. But Maris Jansson went on tour. He came on tour with the Oslo Philharmonic, where he was music director. They had a European tour, and they had a concert in Riga. So. And in concert of 2 symphonies, Beethoven's 7th Symphony and Symphony Fantastique of Berlioz. And then I was in the audience, and the concert's about to start, and then the manager of the orchestra came to me just and said, you know, can you play in the second half Symphony Fantastique, because our trumpet player got sick, his stomach, he's in the hospital, he has some problems with his stomach, he can't play. And so I didn't hear the first half because I ran home to get my trumpet, and I came back, and then I jumped in without rehearsal. I remember, but I was so nervous that I remember the fantastic conducting, and I was thinking, oh, just don't make any mistake. And then he was so kind. After that, he invited to his room and said thanks. And then I told, I'm studying conducting, and he is my biggest influence, and then they asked, they wanted to pay me money for that. I told, please, I don't need any money, but is there any chance that I could come to you, and I could show my videos, and we could to study, and that's how it actually started. Also, our relationship, and as a student and teacher, through the trumpet.
How did the Jansons teach you how to conduct it?
One and the first thing is that you have to be always very prepared, which is normal, which is logical, of course, but really prepared before you go in front of the orchestra. You have to know the score from inside out, and you know about the piece, and you should know what you want to express, what the music wants to express, and you need to be ready. That's of course, and then of course also that the rehearsal technique. I mean, he has one of the most wonderful rehearsal techniques, because you want to improve something, and then you take one instrument group separately, and then so there is a method as well, which is not easy, because it's 100 people, and you have to be convincing, and also I think the great respect, a great respect to musicians as well, diplomacy. In music there is everything. There is love. There is every feeling, and if you don't cultivate good qualities in your heart, how can you conduct I don't know, Tristan and Isolde, or Beethoven's 6th Symphony, or so therefore that's also very important.
I understand that there is a very interesting story about how you met your wife.
She was singing Mimi and Musette, both she was auditioning, and then that's how we met. She was singing, this is my first opera as a music director.
Do you think it is very important for conductor to have a strong personality?
For me, I'm not important at all. What is important? The music is important.
2003年，年仅25岁的尼尔森斯成为了拉脱维亚国家歌剧院的首席指挥。这座歌剧院见证了尼尔森斯在音乐上的启蒙、成长和指挥事业的起航。他曾率领歌剧院演出了瓦格纳的鸿篇巨制《尼伯龙根的指环》，成为了100多年来最年轻的指环指挥者。在剧院准备普契尼歌剧《波西米亚人》的新制作时，尼尔森斯还结识了未来的妻子女高音克里斯汀·奥珀莱斯。如今，这对夫妻已经成为了世界各大知名歌剧院争相邀请的明星伉俪。 就在去年夏天，他们以一出德沃夏克的《水仙女》完成了在巴伐利亚国家歌剧院的首秀。
I understand that there is a very interesting story about how you met your wife. Could you please share some stories with us?
Well, we met again through the opera. Through the opera, I was a music director in Riga Opera at that time, and she was a young soloist, and she was auditioning for the role for Puccini Bohème. Mimi, she was singing Mimi and Musette, both she was auditioning, and then that's how we met. She was singing. This is my first opera as a music director. I love Puccini, one of the composers. I love it very, very much, and she was singing Mimi, and then we were. So that's how we met through music. Through the music, that was how we met, and through Puccini's music, and it's so beautiful, the music, That was in Riga Opera, so it was very romantic.
You have collaborated with a lot of great opera house around the world, such as the Royal Opera House and the Met. And conducting opera is more than just conducting symphony, because you have to work with a lot of people. So how do you deal with the stage director, soloist, chorus, and the complete orchestra?
If it's all as a great teamwork, opera can be absolutely the best experience of because it's combining the art form, theater and singing and symphony. It can be absolutely amazing, but because there are so many parties involved, I think this is a challenge to and it's not only in opera, but I think from one side, all artists, either playing in the orchestra or singing or singing in the chorus or director or conductor, all artists, of course, have their ambitions, they have studied and they have their ideas. At the end, that we all who take part in the production of the opera or playing symphony, we all are serving for the music, for the composer. So if we put our great ambitions, great qualities, whoever has, and our ego under the composer, then it is great. What I find, if you think, okay, nice music, nice production, but I want as a director or as a conductor to change the composer's idea because I think it's not so interesting, and that's I think it's not right. I don't think the composers would always be happy if you as a director would only illustrate the story. I think the most important, I'm sure, they want to show is what the story of the opera want to tell to people, and I think that's the most important. But there is this borderline.
2010年，尼尔森斯首度亮相拜罗伊特，指挥了罗恩格林。儿时的瓦格纳梦至此可谓功德圆满。尽管媒体爆料尼尔森斯与绿山的霸王蒂勒曼之间关系微妙，但音乐节还是邀请他来为2020年的新版《指环》执棒。如今，同时执掌波士顿交响乐团和莱比锡布商大厦管弦乐团的尼尔森斯，已经成为了大西洋两岸最繁忙的音乐总监。享誉世界的维也纳爱乐乐团也向尼尔森斯抛出橄榄枝。2017年10月，双方共同合作完成了一次为期11天的中国巡演，先后造访深圳、广州、上海、南京和澳门，为听众献上了贝多芬、瓦格纳和理查施特劳斯的管弦乐名作。
Now, what was it like working with Vienna Philharmonic? What is the secret of its characteristic sound?
I think when you see the Musikverein, the golden hall, and you go inside, you see there's golden. It's very beautiful, isn't it? And I think the sound of the orchestra, I would characterize as a golden sound. It's like the string sound is like honey, and it's so beautiful and sweet, and it's charming, and also individuality of the woodwind or brass instruments, or it's very charming, and it's very beautiful sound, and of course the tradition, you know, Vienna being a capital of, you know, of classical music, one of the capitals of classical music. So many composers were wanting and were actually working in Vienna. I mean, so it means there's a long tradition. There's always somebody who has played with the. I was talking to many members. I love talking with them because they talk about their teachers and how they learned, and the teachers were played with Richard Strauss, and the other teacher was playing with Beethoven and with Mozart. So there is this passing generation to generation, this great tradition of how they used to play in the old times, and also this is a wonderful orchestra because they play also opera. It's very flexible. They're listening to singers. They're very sensitive. They're listening to each other, and it's like a big chamber music group. Because I think that's perfectly in orchestra when you have a great individualities playing, but also that you listen and respect each other. And you sometimes when you give one group who has a solo or who has a melody, and sometimes you being a soloist, and sometimes you being accompanist, and you need to be very flexible and sensitive, and they are extremely flexible, extremely sensitive, and also the charm.
A member of the Vienna Philharmonic once said that at the summer point we could play without conductor. Do you think that the statement is true, and how do you conduct or control such a prestigious orchestra? You also once said that it is not good for a conductor to say, I'm a leader. But looking back at the history, you can find even all great conductors like Toscanini, Karajan, all had a very strong personality. So do you think it is very important for conductor to have a strong personality? So how to balance between two things?
Either way, either the conductor is a dictator or a very diplomatic. I think the conductor has to have a personality in any case, because there has to be something which orchestra is trusting in or giving their best. And of course, when we look in the history, of course, Toscanini or Furtwängler or Karajan or Bruno Walter, who was very diplomatic, or Kleiber, who was very, very shy but genius, and everyone has been different, but they all have been great personalities. And as a music director, I've been so lucky to have such wonderful orchestras, and now having two orchestras, Boston Symphony Orchestra and Gewandhaus Orchestra in Leipzig. I understand that it's of course, the first thing is to communicate and to build like a family feeling between you and the orchestra and the whole team. But it's also important to build this relationship with the audience.
About to find a new way to lead the orchestra. He spoke very little in rehearsal, even using some simple requests to listen. So what is your method?
Yes.
Do you think you're kingdom or president when you conducted the orchestra?
For me, I'm not important at all. What is important? The music is important. I never would say to orchestra, oh, I want you to play like this, and who cares what I want? We all want to hear what Beethoven is written, or Strauss, or what. But again, as you said, you look to Toscanini, he was really a dictator, and the result was fantastic. You look to Maris Jansons, who is very diplomatic, and the result is fantastic. So. What is right or wrong is difficult to say. I personally, I think it's so important that we together with the orchestra, we are one team and we are in the same boat. The conductor could say, okay, orchestra is in a boat, is a storm, but I'm not. I'm outside and I'm controlling and giving cues and giving what they should do. But I like to be in the same boat. If there is a storm,
Yes.
I'm together. I'm sweating and I'm together. If we are sinking, we are sinking together. So, you know, if we are one team, not that I'm more important or somebody else. The composer is the first importance. And I think there is a dictatorship which is actually coming from composer. I always think that that's in a good sense. Because then we can get closer to the essence of music of a certain composer, I believe. But therefore I think diplomacy and respect, but discipline too. And you have to kind of feel these. Karajan interestingly told, the conducting is like riding the horse jumping. If you ride the horse and all the time push the horse, horse will throw you, at some point will get angry and throw you out. But if you give the impulse and you let the horse to ride, and then before the horse is jumping, you just, and then horse jump, and again you let. So I think, and to find those moments is very important, because otherwise there are moments where orchestras can play themselves. You set the tempo, give the impulse, and they play, you know. And there are moments, again, you need to give impulse because something is changing, and you need to be there when they expect you to be there. And it's very difficult to find those moments.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to meet you.
Great honor, great pleasure.
Too many things about the music.
走进经典，艺术人文。